Today we're out here at the New York Auto Show with the all-new 2020 Ford Escape. This is a pretty big departure from the Escape because we have an all-turbocharged engine lineup in the gasoline model and then two different hybrids, a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid with a pretty decent range. Under this hood, things start out with a 1.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine. You can then upgrade your way into a 2-liter 250 horsepower engine, which makes this one of the more powerful options in this segment. Both engines will be mated to the same 8-speed automatic transmission in the regular gasoline version. The other big thing you're going to notice is the overall design up front. So this looks an awful lot more like Ford's sedan lineup in some ways. We get that same vibe from the side profile, so we have a hood that's definitely a little bit lower than some of the boxier competition like the new RAV4, but we definitely have a size that is really in keeping with the rest of the segment. So overall interior room is very similar to what we find in the bulk of the segment, and cargo room, as we'll see in a bit, is actually very good out back. Out back, you can see that this definitely has not returned to the overall truck-like look of the first generation Escape, but we do have quite a lot of cargo space back here. 37 cubic feet approximately. If you're getting the gasoline versions, then there's a decent amount of space right here under the cargo area load floor as well. Definitely enough room to put those spare tires down there as well. And if you get the plug-in hybrid model, then things only drop down to 34 cubic feet, which is also a pretty big deal. So if you're looking for a plug-in vehicle with a lot of cargo space, then you'll definitely find that back here. Because of the hybrid's battery pack location, back here in the trunk in the hybrid model, we actually have a spare tire well. So if you're interested in getting a hybrid but you don't want to give up the spare tire, again, this is going to be an excellent option. Before we move inside, let's talk a little bit more about the engine, specifically the hybrid system, because this really is one of the big changes for 2020. You'll see that we now use a 2.5-liter hybrid system. It's a little bit different than what we saw in the original Escape, but like that original Escape, coming out of that transmission, you'll actually see a drive shaft going to the rear. This does not use a rear motor electric unit like we see in Toyota's hybrid systems. So this is actually all-wheel drive. This is not all-wheel drive. Depending on the exact situation, this system could send basically 100% of engine power all the way to the rear. Now you notice right here in the middle, we have the hybrid battery pack located. It's a little bit difficult to see behind those little logos right here on this plexiglass, but you can see it's about the size of a briefcase. It is a lithium-ion battery pack, and it lives entirely under the vehicle, so it doesn't really compromise overall interior room too much. Back here we have a pretty traditional mechanical rear differential. Again, the big difference between this and the RAV4, and we still get about 35 cubic feet of cargo space back there. If you're looking for a hybrid vehicle that doesn't give up anything in terms of overall winter traction, whether it's snow, ice traction, mud traction, etc., this is going to be the option that you want to look at rather than the RAV4's all-wheel drive system. This system, again, should be able to send almost all of the engine power to the rear axle, assuming the front wheels had zero traction, and that's just not something you can do in the RAV4. It can only send about 80 horsepower or so to the rear axle. Power figures for the hybrid and plug-in hybrid have been announced. 198 horsepower is what you get out of this hybrid system. If you opt for the plug-in hybrid system, then that bumps it up to 209 combined horsepower. However, the plug-in hybrid loses the mechanical all-wheel drive system that we see right here, and that's what makes this again so unique. We don't know all the details just yet about the plug-in hybrid battery pack, but I expect that it's probably going to be located under the vehicle in a very similar fashion to this, and possibly some of it back there where that rear axle goes. That's the likely reason that we lose the all-wheel drive ability in that plug-in hybrid Escape model. On the flip side, we do gain probably between 30 and 40 miles of overall electric range. Judging by other vehicles out there that use battery packs of very similar densities and very similar capacities, I suspect that this vehicle with plug-in hybrid system is probably going to go about 35 miles on a charge. The interior is also a pretty big departure for this segment. We have the availability of a full LCD instrument cluster. That's something that we don't generally find in the compact segment like this. This is the top end trim right here, so we do have a leather wrapped steering wheel. It's also a new design for Ford, a lot of buttons going on there. We have Ford's latest infotainment screen right here in the dashboard. Unfortunately, nothing is on, so we can't really take a good look at that, but this offers their latest sync software. We have some physical buttons down below there, and then a single zone automatic climate control at the bottom of the dashboard. Overall parts quality appears to be quite high. There are definitely a lot of soft touch plastics here. We have soft touch lower section of the dashboard, soft touch upper section of the dashboard as well. And if we move briefly over here to the doors, you'll see that we do find some soft touch plastics on the upper sections of the door and the mid-level sections of the door also. Soft touch armrest, basically the same buttons that we see on the doors in the current generation Escape. Working our way down the center console, we have a single USB input and this storage cubby right here, which does look like it could host a wireless charging mat. We have two cup holders right here on the dashboard. Those look large. And one thing I noticed is this texture right here. I think this actually may resist scratching easier than some of those black trims that we see in some of the competition. We have a round style shifter knob Some buttons down there for the automatic parking and the drive mode systems. And then inside the center console storage area, we actually have an additional USB port. So if you don't want your phone dangling down around the dashboard there, it looks like you can put it in the center console also. The passenger area appears to be pretty roomy. This front seat is adjusted approximately for me at 6 feet tall. I have several inches left back here. Remember that this is a compact category, so don't expect room like you'd find in a Ford Edge. We also have a decent amount of headroom, even though this one does have the optional panoramic moonroof in it. The rear seats also feature a pretty interesting recline mechanism, so you can square off the cargo area there a little bit, and it offers actually a pretty decent recline. I was a little bit surprised by the reclineability right back there. As we see in most of the competition, we do get some hard plastics as we move to the back of the cabin, but again, this is pretty in keeping with the Honda CR-V and the RAV4. Ford tells us that you'll be able to get your hands on the all-new 2020 Escape later this year in 2019, so be sure and stay tuned for this on Ford dealer lots coming up very soon. The 1.5-liter turbocharged engine as a base engine really seems interesting to me, but I think the most interesting thing is actually the new hybrid and plug-in hybrid systems that we see under the hood of the Escape. It's been quite some time since we've had a hybrid Escape in America, and this is bringing it back in a big way. Not only do we have that mechanical all-wheel drive system, which should be far more winter capable than the all-wheel drive system that we see in the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, but we also have the availability of that plug-in hybrid system, which should make a lot of shoppers out there pretty happy. It's really the only entry in this segment that offers that plug-in option. Aside from this, your only real other option if you wanted a plug-in hybrid would be the Outlander plug-in hybrid, but it's not quite the same thing because it does start out as a 3-row vehicle. It's actually a little bit larger than this, and it's going to probably be more expensive as well. If you want to know more about the 2020 Escape, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button down there because we will have a full review on it just as soon as we can possibly get our hands on it. Be sure to check out facebook.com/AlexNautos for all of our updates, and I'll see you next week.